Welcome to the Send the House podcast, episode 1. I'm Jack.
I'm Austin.
I'm Jackson.
We had a nice Thursday night football matchup last night between the Bills and the Dolphins. We got our top performers here. How do you feel about it, Austin and Jackson?
Well, I have Devon Achane, so I was pretty happy with the performance he put up last night. But Bills, man, they look nice.
They did look nice. I have James Cook in some of my other leagues, and he really helped out with those 3 touchdowns.
You know what's a little bit embarrassing? I had Keon Coleman as my boom for week 2.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
It's rough.
1 target, 0 receptions, 0 yards. Had a very underwhelming and embarrassing performance.
He did, for sure.
It was an embarrassing pick, you could say.
Yeah, and how do we feel about Josh Allen? Not even 10 points.
That was rough.
Yeah, it was.
It was another Bears versus who'd they play last week?
Titans.
The Titans.
Yeah, that
with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, that defensive, the elite defensive scoring. Same thing with the Bills last night. The Bills defense was just elite. Johnny Smith coming in at 4, kind of a random name in the top 7.
Yeah.
Some people might
Former
not even
Falcon,
know who Johnny Smith. If you're just
Former Falcon, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
If you were just like maybe a casual little fantasy football player, like I
Not like me.
I play, 8-man league. Not really get too much into it. You probably don't even know who Johnny Smith is. But
And Khalil Shakir.
exactly.
Who would have thought that Khalil Shakir would outscore Jalen Waddle and Josh Allen?
Do you see a name missing here? Tyreek Hill.
For real?
Wow.
I mean, an embarrassing and heartbreaking performance from Tua, 3 interceptions, and what could have been the last game of his NFL career.
Yeah.
It was a tough watch seeing DeMar Hamlin cause that concussion. I don't know what he's doing going head first into a defender. But it's tough as a Bama fan to watch one of the greatest Alabama quarterbacks go down and such a great career ending so early.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
I mean, yeah, Bills look great. They look like they're another AFC championship contender.
Yeah, they're up there. I mean, you got to put them. They're up there with like the Chiefs and I guess the Ravens, even though they're 0-1. Couple inches away, obviously. Isaiah Likely touchdown would have won it for the Ravens. But yeah, I think those 3 teams looked at right now as kind of the top dogs. I mean, Miami coming into this game, you thought that they were obviously competing with the Bills in the AFC East, but I mean the Bills just looked great. But
I mean, unless Skylar Thompson can pull some Nick Foles type stuff, I don't think Dolphins are going anywhere.
Yeah. So, the same thing could be said with possibly the Green Bay Packers.
Malik Willis.
Yeah.
See, at least Jordan Love's looking to come back.
Right.
In a reasonable amount of time.
Well, who knows? Tua could be back too. We
don't
know.
know.
We don't know. But like you said, James Cook had 3 touchdowns. Brings us to not to the red zone rush, to the top waiver wire targets of week 2. Yeah. That's.
I mean, some great performances for the waiver wire players.
Yeah, it's not the strongest waiver wire week 1 that we've had in the past few years, but there's a solid few players that
for sure.
pick up.
Yeah, for sure. First one, Isaiah Likely. I mean,
impressive.
A few inches away.
I mean,
33.
Yeah,
he goes down a half size in his shoe, and that's a win for the Ravens. I mean,
33 points.
I think I might have overpaid for him in our league, spending $32 FAAB dollars. But in my situation, Dallas Goedert isn't going to cut it for an elite team like me. I like Isaiah Likely because he's more of a wide receiver built guy. He's not one of those big bulky blocking tight ends. I mean, 12 targets on 9 receptions. I don't think that's a fluke game to me. I think that's just pure athleticism and eliteness from Isaiah Likely, which is why I spent so much FAAB dollars on him.
Yeah. You see, the problem with me is like, I think people are forgetting that Mark Andrews is still there. I mean, I think a lot of people are just like, oh yeah, he's a left tackle now. But
he did play left tackle last game.
Yeah. But
I would know that. I'm starting to.
Yeah, after I traded you him. But
but I still won.
Okay, bro. CMC plays. I think they're just forgetting. They still have Mark Andrews there, and I do like what Likely put up, but I still think Mark Andrews is the number one tight end. Now, I had heard some rumors earlier in the offseason about them potentially playing Isaiah Likely at tight end and receiver, which could be huge for him. Because they had
huge as a fantasy player. I mean,
Yeah.
you get a wide receiver at your tight end spot. That's game breaking.
I know it's like the cheat code Taysom Hill was when you
For
could
real.
play him at like any position back in like 2020.
Yeah,
Those are the days.
All right, on to our next one here. Jordan Mason. Obviously, CMC was ruled out a few hours before the game. Some people weren't able to sub him out of their lineup, so they lost the week. But they gave him a CMC role in this game
For sure.
He excelled with it too. 28 attempts, 147 rushing yards, 1 reception, 1 touchdown. It was a phenomenal game for the kid. It's weird to see how he has such an elite performance, but then as soon as CMC comes back, he's going to go right back down to the RB2. I will be interested to see how they do that, if he's going to give him more touches, more of a role in the 49ers offense, maybe lessening CMC's value. But no, I will say pretty astonished by the projection at 16.8 points this coming week.
Wow.
I do feel like that's a little bit of a reach for him, but I mean, if he can have another performance like he did last week, I think he's definitely starter worthy.
28 attempts. Like, they're not handing a trash running back the ball 28 times.
No.
They obviously believe in the kid. And, if CMC comes back, this kid still might be a factor. You never know. It's not just like CMC's going to come back, he's going to turn back to dust. But it's also not like he's going to it's not like he's going to still be that main guy. So I'm also curious to see where they go with this kind of RB kind of duel that they didn't know that they had. Obviously, CMC's still probably the best running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
But this kid, he's not bad. You look at the Lions; they got Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery,
and both of them had great performances last week.
Yeah, that is true.
There's no reason they can't have that dual running backfield, and both produce great fantasy performances.
Yeah, and somebody do you remember Elijah Mitchell?
Yep.
I remember me playing Madden 21 before they had CMC. He was the RB1, and I'm like, yeah, this guy, he's a future top 10 back in the league, and then he just felt like he kind of
down.
Yeah, it just went like nowhere.
I think with all the injuries in the running back room for 49ers definitely led the way for Jordan Mason's big game.
Yeah, for sure. So,
yeah. Moving on to the next one, we got J.K. Dobbins. Chief over here having J.K. Dobbins. We were all mostly big J.K. Dobbins guys leading into the fantasy draft. How do you feel about Chief?
Gotta love J.K. Dobbins. What a performance. 10 attempts, 135 yards, 13.5 yards per carry. Obviously, that's really good. He had some really big runs. I think they were like 60 yards and 40 yards, right?
Yeah, the breakaway ability there.
Yeah.
He's definitely got it.
I think the only big thing about J.K. Dobbins to me is the attempts. I feel like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins both had kind of a 50-50 split, which could definitely change after the performance from J.K. Dobbins this coming week.
I feel like it will. The Chargers said they'll ride the hot hand on the offense, and J.K. Dobbins definitely looks like he is the hot hand.
Yeah. No. One thing that worries me about J.K. is they get down to 3rd and goal from like the 4-yard line. I think it's Gus Edwards, personally. But I think if J.K. Dobbins still proves to be an elite running back, I think he'll end up getting more of the carries. I'm just a little bit worried that he won't be getting many touchdowns unless it's a breakaway run like he was performing on Sunday.
The Chargers are such an interesting offense coming into this season. They went from having those big name guys, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, and then they just don't know what happened. All of them just leave. Now you got Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, who else is in that wide receiver core?
Joshua
Palmer. Just one of the biggest offensive fall offs. So I think it's smart of them to ride the hot hand and just see those reliable guys that they need.
I don't even know who's their tight end. I'm not sure who the Chargers tight end
Because
is.
they got rid of Gerald Everett. He's
Yeah.
on the Bears now.
I am not. Even
Oh, it's Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst. Yeah.
What a snag right there, Cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
All right.
Wandale Robinson. One of the guys kind of just flew under the radar.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
wide receiver 2 for the Giants.
I mean, everybody was like, "Oh, Malik Neighbors. Oh, Malik Neighbors. Oh, Malik Neighbors," and then Malik Neighbors didn't. I mean, he put up like 11.5.
Not
But-
terrible, but
Yeah.
I mean, Wandale Robinson, he looked great. 12 targets.
12. Like, that's insane.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
I know. I mean, he only caught 6 of them, but still ended up with a great week. So I picked him up off of waiver wires for like either $1 or $2, and I'm happy that I have him. You know, who knows? Who knows what he could be, and I got him for $2. I mean, I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, man. I think I put in a $0, just hoping nobody would see him, but did not land him, sadly. But
I had a 0 put in, and then I'm like, let me just raise it a couple just to make sure.
yeah, no, I got you. Now moving on to the next one. Tank Bigsby.
I picked up Tank Bigsby. I like his volume. 12 attempts, match attempts with Travis Etienne.
No, Tank Bigsby. I had Travis Etienne and traded him away immediately. I did not like what I saw. Seeing the 50-50 split in that backfield, it scared me for how high Travis Etienne was hyped. I feel like I wanted to go ahead and get him out of my team while his name was still high. I feel like Tank Bigsby is going to have a bigger role. You were a big Tank Bigsby guy coming into the season. And, I mean, 12 attempts, 73 yards for an under-the-radar guy. Like, that's phenomenal for him.
Yeah.
We saw Travis Etienne's heartbreaking fumble at the goal line. Was not too happy about that one. Could have definitely increased my gap winning-wise. That was a nail-biter game for me. But, yeah, I feel like Tank Bigsby could be a great waiver wire ad.
Yeah, you know, obviously, Auburn guy. So Tank Bigsby's my guy.
Hey.
And, I mean, I like what you're saying. I do think he'll get about a 50-50 split, which was not really seen coming in. Who knows if that'll stay the same. But I do think that they trust Bigsby in this offense. And I think that it's not going to be as much Etienne as there was last year. And I want to say something, too. EA was a big Travis Etienne glazer this offseason. And it's just not looking great right
I
now.
don't know if that one's panning out.
Yeah. Next up, we have
Baker Mayfield.
Who would have thought he would have finished at quarterback 1 for week 1? I mean,
Quarterback 2, I think.
quarterback 2?
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah,
No,
Josh Allen. Sorry. No, but Baker Mayfield, phenomenal game. I mean, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans stepping up in that wide receiver room. As a new, now Mike Evans fantasy owner, I like what I see. I saw something on, I think, Instagram. It was a mic'd up moment from Baker Mayfield saying that if they're not double guarding Mike Evans, he's going up to him. So, love to hear that as Mike Evans fantasy manager. Yeah, Baker Mayfield, great performance week 1. I think if you're in a tough position at quarterback, he's definitely worth the waiver wire addition.
I mean, yeah, he really carved up the defense. 4 touchdowns. That's insane. 289 yards. No interceptions. I mean, he was dialed in. He was dialed in. You could really tell he looked crisp. He looked like that Browns team like a couple years ago that made it deep into the playoffs with I believe Odell Beckham Jr. on that team. But I mean, he looked good. He looked good.
The whole Buccaneers offense looked great.
Yeah, for sure.
A little bit of an underwhelming Rachaad White performance. Now I think they had him projected at 17, now down to the 15s, 14s around there. But yeah, me and EA were high on the Buccaneers train riding into week 1.
All right, there we go. Now, Red Zone
Rush Hour.
All right, we'll get into it. Bijan Robinson, obvious concerns here. The Red Zone usage for him it wasn't there. 1 carry, he went backwards on the carry. He had 1 catch, which I guess if you're playing PPR, obviously helps you out.
Yep.
But 0 touchdowns, that's not obviously what you want. They give you 6 points. And then 23% of the total team touches inside the red zone. That is terrible. I mean, if
a guy like Bijan.
Right, if he's the workhorse back, he should be getting more than 23%. I mean, I think Algier might be a factor in the red zone, and I mean, they have big wide receivers: Kyle Pitts, Drake London. I don't know how much Bijan will get used in a goal line situation.
Yeah, no, I like what I'm seeing from Bijan. Those 16 attempts, had a pretty decent fantasy performance, having a lot bigger of a role with Arthur Smith now at head coach. I think Bijan is definitely going to stay around the top 5 running backs to finish the season, unless something tragic happens. But I think Bijan's role is now a lot better coming into this season with Arthur Smith head coach.
Next one. Saquon Barkley putting up 33.2 points for my fantasy team to beat my boy right here.
Phenomenal showing from Saquon Barkley.
3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. Was not expecting the touchdown reception he had. Phenomenal throw, phenomenal catch.
Mm-hmm.
Never really saw Saquon Barkley as a
receiving back. Yeah.
For real. Concerns with him, such a crowded, such a talented offense, just talent everywhere. I mean, that big wide receiver 3, Jahan Dotson, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Saquon, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts who can rush the ball too. But it looks like Saquon had the rushing volume especially in the red zone.
No doubt.
Red zone rusher.
Yeah, I mean that catch looked like me back in 4th grade recess.
Word.
I
feel like we all were like prime Julio.
Yeah.
In recess.
But he had all the volume. You love to see him get a touchdown reception. I mean, that's something you weren't really expecting coming in. Another thing I was really skeptical on was he's playing with Jalen Hurts, who's one of the best rushing quarterbacks. Obviously, they had the tush push. Yeah. Jason Kelsey's gone up. They'll probably still use it some.
Yeah.
But I was kind of worried that Jalen Hurts was going to be stealing goal line touches from Saquon. That didn't really seem to be the case.
No doubt. I mean, you see that backfield with Jalen Hurts, Saquon, they squat almost over 1,000 pounds. I mean, tush push going to be lethal this year.
Yeah.
You got Saquon Barkley just full speed right into Jalen Hurts' tush and just pushing him across the goal line.
I mean, any game with 3 touchdowns that's all you can really hope for. I mean, that's best case scenario.
Phenomenal statement game. Very comforting for fantasy managers. I think no doubt.
Yeah. Devon change. Okay, this is somebody I have on my team, and I mean I was pleased with the way H.N. played. 23 points, I believe, for H.N. And he seemed good. He caught a lot of passes, and Mostert he didn't really come away as a factor to me in that game. I watched the game and I noticed H.N. a ton, and Mostert I didn't really notice him. I think they're going to lean on H.N. more, and especially in the receiving game. I mean, he caught a lot of passes. I think he could be a weapon this year, and I get everybody was like, yeah, he's kind of small, limber. Don't know if they'll use him in the red zone much, but he had a receiving touchdown in the red zone,
and he's just so fast.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, and 48% inside the red zone.
Yeah, Devon A-Chain. You speak of the receiving touchdown, and now we see how he doesn't have a lot of their offense isn't conceived around rushing.
Right.
And now you can definitely see how both Devon A-Chain and Raheem Mostert may be getting an increased workload with the Tua injury. Skylar Thompson, they might not be as confident as him throwing the ball, which, I mean, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, fantasy managers, I would be nervous right now, man. I just don't think Skylar Thompson can give that Tua factor that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle had.
All right.
Tajay. That was tough. That was a weird backfield. Everybody was high on Tajay entering the season. Tony Pollard and Tajay, the two guys in the Titans backfield.
I was really high on Tajay. I actually wanted to draft him in all leagues that I enter, but glad I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying, draft Tajay over Tony Pollard. That's where I was, especially in terms of PPR.
It might change later in the season, especially with Tajay's like receiving abilities.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's still so young. Yeah, I mean, the potential's there, but 6%, that's terrible. 1 carry for 2 yards, didn't have a catch, which is kind of like his whole, like that's kind of his identity, and especially in fantasy football. Is like he's going to catch passes as a running back. Didn't seem to do that. Just maybe a little bit of concern right now. Tony Pollard looked great. It just it might not be trending in the right direction after week 1.
I think if you're in a dynasty league, definitely keep Tajay on the bench. He's young. They're gonna definitely.
He'll have opportunities for sure.
No. He'll definitely grow over this season and seasons to come. But definitely right now, Tajay, don't start him. Tony Pollard looked to be that guy in that running back room.
Yeah, for sure.
College football game of the week, presented by EA.
Let's go. It's the number 20 team in the country, Arizona, at 14, Kansas State. We have our picks on the next slide, obviously, but Arizona, they're kind of built on an offensive duo of McMillan, their wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers, maybe the best in the country. Who knows? The kid's a stud. And obviously their quarterback, Noah Fafita, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. And then you look at Kansas State. Obviously, they got Avery Johnson starting at QB. He's obviously, a lot of people like him. People think he can be, an elite QB in the future.
Has nice hair as well.
Yeah. He's got a nice flow going.
I know.
But and he's obviously a capable rusher. So in conference matchup now too, with the conference realignment, we got a Big 12 matchup here, and I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a good game.
A really good game.
And picks, Jack, you want to?
Kansas State. I mean, I think with a spread at plus 6.5, or it's minus 6.5 for Kansas State. But I do think that Kansas State will pull out with more than a touchdown lead. I think it could even be a 2-possession lead at the end of the game. I mean, when I look at it, not too intelligent when it comes to college football, but you see the guy, phenomenal locks, looks like Sonny from Remember the Titans, and I trust him, man. I trust him.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Arizona. Obviously, Arizona, they haven't looked great. I'm gonna be honest, but Kansas State, they weren't a close one against Tulane. Obviously, Scoop and Score kind of put them in the right direction. But I've been high on Arizona all year long. I think they've got the right pieces. I really trust what they've got going down there. And Kansas State, I don't know, man. I'm not really high on them this year too much. But I like Arizona, and that's who I'm taking. You get 6.5 points to go with that. So next up, EA. He's going with Kansas State. He thinks they'll smack Arizona by at least 14.
Yep.
He's high on Kansas State this year, and he's not high on Arizona. He doesn't think that they've done anything. He thinks that they're frauds. So he's got Kansas State by more than 6.5. And lastly, Jackson.
Now, I don't know much about college sports, so just kind of riding on a feeling on this one. But I just like the spread in favor of Arizona for this game, especially with their really good offense. I feel like they'll keep it close.
Yeah, I mean that stat line from McMillan.
That first game, 4 touchdowns.
I mean, EA calculated it. It was high 60 fantasy points if you were calculating it, but it was a phenomenal show.
Yeah, no, I mean he's a stud, and I think they'll get it done tonight. I have them winning outright. I think they'll win the game, and I think they'll make a statement. Next up, the fantasy football draft. We kind of gave glimpses into our teams, but let's show the people the full roster here.
Going in, we are a 12-man league, PPR, and as you can see on the right side, your boy's been making tons of trades. Right now, we got Jane Daniels at quarterback. Couldn't be happier. Going later in the draft, our boy Preston had to pick before me. Jordan Love, Jane Daniels, both on the board. We're both needing quarterback. Luckily, he took Jordan Love, so I got to snag Jane Daniels late, and a phenomenal game from him. I then traded for Pacheco. Big trade for Pacheco. If you look on the right side, I traded away CeeDee Lamb, Travis Etienne, Zach Moss, Brian Thomas for Pacheco, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans. It's again with that Etienne situation. I wanted to get him out quick, and CeeDee Lamb, tough loss there, but I got Pacheco, JT at the running back too. 100% of the running backs carries in Indianapolis. Wide receiver core is elite. AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, all had great performances in Week 1. Isaiah Likely, the new waiver wire pickup, another phenomenal Week 1 performance. Ravens defense, Harrison Butker, and on the bench, a real thin bench depth. We've got Tank Dell, Dallas Goedert, Justice Hill, Adonai Mitchell. I like Justice Hill watching the game. He had a bunch of receiving volume in that offense. But, yeah.
Yeah. All right, my team. I was the last person to take a quarterback. I was behind Jack and Preston, who went Jordan Love and Jane Daniels off the board. So I got Caleb Williams, who did not look great, obviously, but I'm hoping he can turn around. He's a great prospect. I'm not too worried about it. Devon Achane, obviously, we talked about him earlier. I think he's a real weapon this year.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, Rashad White. He's okay right now. He's not really. Bucky Irving is scaring me a little bit, but he'll get a lot of receptions. And then my wide receiver room is Devonta Smith. Obviously, you know what he has. He's a good wide. He's gonna give you a smooth at least 14, I believe, a week. And then Malik Neighbors, who didn't look good. I'm not gonna lie. He kind of turned it on in the second half, but 11 points, just kind of mid. I'm having to start Ladd McConkey this week. We'll see where that goes. And then you look at my bench. Obviously, I have Christian McCaffrey, who's hurt. So he's yeah. Those two guys will usually be starting. So I did not play Ladd McConkey last week. I played CMC instead, but couldn't sub him out. But and then in Njoku, I had starting. I was able to pick up Colby Parkinson, I believe, for free, or maybe $1 off the waiver wire. Just I need somebody. And then on my bench, Deontay Johnson sucked last week, but he's gonna be all right, I guess. Jaleel McLaughlin. I was big on Jaleel McLaughlin coming into the season. I think he could become the number one running back in Denver. Rome Odunze, their offense was just terrible. So if Caleb Williams goes up, I have a high feeling that Rome Odunze, he's going to benefit from that. And then, as I said earlier, I picked up Wan'Dale Robinson off the waivers. And then I also got a little drafting stash there on the IR. Jonathan Brooks, obviously, he's hurt for the first couple weeks, but I was able to get him at the pick 120. So I'm really happy about that. I guess people thought, they saw the out and they didn't want to draft him, but I think I got a good snag there.
EA's team, another great team, blew out 160 points week 1. Josh Allen had that phenomenal performance. Josh Allen, quarterback 1, is going to be the quarterback 1. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, what's his name? Jordan Mason. My bad, guys. I know. Phenomenal running backs. He's got the Lions handcuff running backs. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jalen Waddle. He didn't have an outstanding Thursday night football performance, but week 1 he looked great. Justin Jefferson, we saw what Sam Darnold could do. He looks like he can be a good bridge quarterback till J.J. McCarthy gets back. So I like Justin Jefferson. Got that reassuring Kyle Pitts. He had the touchdown, which definitely gives you a little bit of blanket of comfort. You saw Kirk Cousins use him in the red zone. Rashee Rice looked great. Marquise Brown getting put on IR, also boosting Rashee Rice's volume. Then you go down to the bench. He does have Hollywood Brown, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, Raheem Mostert, Joshua Palmer, T.J. Hawkinson. Amari Cooper. Tough watch there.
Yeah, for sure. And something I didn't even know is that he's starting Jordan Mason. I did not know that he had decided to start Jordan Mason. I thought he was still rolling with Montgomery. Put up like 16 points last week. So I thought he was going to roll again with that kind of 1-2 punch of the Lions. But I think Jordan Mason, for how with CMC's out, I think that's a fine starter there. And then Rashee Rice, man, what a snag, honestly. You looked at the end of last year, and he was putting up like 17 a game, and I guess people thought with Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown coming in that Rashee Rice, and obviously we didn't know if he was going to be suspended or whatnot, but I guess they just kind of faded him. He's looking like one of the best picks of the draft. You get 17 points out of a guy that you drafted in like the 7th or 8th round. That's phenomenal, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And then we have my team. Running back room. Very good. Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall. It's definitely the best in the league. Saquon Barkley and Breece Hall. Wide receivers, Debo. And then I have Puka on IR, but Xavier Worthy starting. I'm not sure how comfortable I feel about that. Already working on some trades to get that. But the reason why it's that way is I made the Breece Hall trade today. Gave up James Conner and Michael Pittman for Breece Hall. So I'm working on getting that Xavier Worthy replacement. Mark Andrews, not a good week one. He played left tackle. But I feel like he'll still be the tight end one, or at least the co-tight end one for a bit, or at least most of the season. Flex J.K. Dobbins. He looks great. And then bench. The bench depth is struggling, but we do have Jameson Williams being good.
Nice little 1.3 from Curtis Samuel on Thursday Night Football. But I still got faith in Curtis Samuel, honestly. I think.
No, I don't. I'm going to
drop. Jameson Williams with the statement week one.
Yes. 9 targets, 5 receptions. Didn't he have like 100-something yards?
Yeah, it was a great. I'm glad he's getting the recognition now. He had the. It was a great game. Almost tripling Amon-Ra's points.
Yeah, St. Brown didn't really do much.
He did much more than tripling Amon-Ra's points.
Yeah.
Like 6 times or something.
Dang it.
Because Amon-Ra had like 3.
Yeah, he had like 4.
Jameson put up like 23.
That was a great game for Jameson.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. All right. NFL news. We've gone through a lot of it. We'll hit you with some more stuff here.
So, of course, we have the Christian McCaffrey calf and Achilles injury. Tough for our boy Austin over here. The calf was always always an injury we knew of, and then the Achilles tendonitis was it? I don't know, but it was kind of the 1-2 punch. The calf Achilles injury, really throwing fantasy managers, throwing him in a spiral. He was the outright number 1 overall pick in all leagues, hopefully, and I still feel like when he gets back, he's going to still have that number 1 overall pick.
The fact is, you heard like kind of a little murmurs of, oh yeah, Christian McCaffrey, he's kind of dealing with like a little calf thing, and then out of nowhere, IR is under consideration. It's just I feel like that came out of nowhere. He misses the first 6 weeks. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. But
as a fantasy manager, do you feel like you should maybe go into some trades?
It's just so tough to tell because with Christian McCaffrey is a different first round pick. He's not like somebody else. He can get you 40 on every given week. So it's tough to tell. But if he gets put on IR, I don't know. I'll definitely have to think about it. But
that's a tough situation because I feel like if he does go on IR, I feel like you don't get as much fantasy value.
Right. They see the IR, he's going to be out. It's just like they're not willing to trade you as much for what you probably should be getting for the best player in the league. So it's a tough spot to be in for sure.
Moving to the next, we got Jordan Love knee injury. As a Packers fan, it was a heartbreak. Literally, not even 30 seconds left on the clock, and he goes down.
Then Malik Willis has that great pass with that great ending to that game. Oh wait, just wrong thing that I thought about in my brain. That did not happen. Instead, he got sacked.
I feel like people are giving Malik Willis a lot more hate than he deserves. It's tough to throw a guy out there who hasn't gotten he's been on the Titans. The Titans are terrible. They have no mentorship to produce him. But I feel like Malik Willis he's not Jordan Love, but I feel like he's going to be better than people are assuming. The offensive line just didn't give him what he needed to maybe get it downfield. He has phenomenal arm strength, phenomenal mobility, but it's definitely a tough loss for Packers fans and Jaden Reed fantasy managers. Jaden Reed had a phenomenal game, but now I feel like all of the um, volume and forgot the word there. I'll get back to you when I think of it. Let's move on though. We got Russell Wilson calf injury listed as questionable for Sunday. We saw Justin Fields out there. Not a horrible performance, not a great.
They won the game.
They won.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's all that matters.
You could say the same thing for Caleb Williams, but
different situation.
But I think I've been saying it. Justin Fields, I think, is the guy that they should play. I think he's the better quarterback. You look at what he was doing with the Bears at the end of last season. He was kind of carrying them to I mean, not great, but they were not trash. But I think he's the better guy to start at quarterback. He has rushing upside, obviously. I just think he's still young. He's very talented. I think he's got all the right pieces to put it together.
I wouldn't be surprised if they took that Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love type thing where they start Russell Wilson, let Russell Wilson filter the wisdom he has from how the veteranship down to Justin Fields. But Russell Wilson did not look hot in Denver and now is injured. Justin Fields, of course, with the rushing ability, definitely a plus in fantasy. He's on most people's waivers right now. That's another guy that could be a nice waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we're moving on. Marquise Brown to go under shoulder surgery, wide receiver placed on IR.
I mean, just furthers what I said about Rashee Rice. And, I mean, I think Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy now, I mean, they could be guys that you're looking to start every week in fantasy. I think that Patrick Mahomes, obviously, he's going to get you the ball if you're a playmaker. We've seen that with Travis Kelce for the past, 8 years. I think that these receivers, obviously, when you have two receivers, you're going to get more volume than when you have three. And I think it really benefits these two receivers.
No doubt. I mean, Xavier Worthy had a phenomenal game. The rushing touchdown, the receiving touchdown.
Yeah.
Definitely a standout game for the rookie.
Yeah.
Didn't have. It was more of just like those two big plays. He didn't have that much of a receiver. The receiver volume.
He didn't rack up a lot of receptions.
Yeah, that's right. And Rashee Rice was the guy to do that. I feel like Rashee Rice is definitely going to be a phenomenal.
Yeah. I completely agree.
And now the elephant in the room, the biggest NFL news probably coming out of Thursday Night Football, and that's Tua Tagovailoa. It was a tough one to watch. He looked terrible going in, and then going head on into Damar Hamlin, causing a confirmed concussion, and might be the end of his career.
The fingers popped up for a second time. That's not a good thing.
Not a good thing.
I mean, it's rough. You hate to see it to the guy. I mean, honestly, their offense, they didn't look as able to get these big chunk plays really dynamic in their week one against the Jags as they did last year. You give a Tua injury to that team. I mean, it's rough. Waddle, Tyreek, obviously their stocks are down. Maybe move the running backs up a little bit, but I mean, I think it's just going to tank the whole offense. The whole offense was built around really Tua and Tyreek being able to go deep with their receivers, and now I just don't really know if they can really use that as big of a weapon anymore.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Tua's situation, he's got 2 kids now. He's got a family, and that definitely is going to be considered in the conversation of returning to football. I feel like if I'm him, I'm retiring. I don't feel like playing a couple more seasons and risking your brain, your head. I just don't feel like it's worth it with now a family of 4. No doubt. I think, but with this injury, I feel like Jalen Wright definitely could be a sleeper in the waivers.
Yeah, for sure. Running back 3 there for Miami. I mean, yeah, he's given the right opportunity. Maybe one of the two guys ahead of him goes down or something. You never know. But for sure, just real quick, Scotty Scheffler with the win at the PGA.
Yeah.
I mean, he led all season. Not really surprised there. I was in attendance there, watched it. I mean, it was pretty cool to see one of the best golfers that we've seen, obviously, since like Tiger Woods. I mean, he's not in the GOAT debate, obviously, but I mean, he keeps this up. I mean, he's a great golfer. He looked really smooth out there. Honestly, reminded me of myself a decent bit, but yeah, got the win. That's $25 million, but
Yeah, no, I feel like Tiger Woods, he's just it's crazy not having Scotty Scheffler and the GOAT conversation, but it's factual.
yeah,
Tiger Woods is a specimen, was a specimen. He's not looking good anymore, but Tiger Woods, I forgot how long Scotty Scheffler has to be number one in the world to catch up to him.
13 years.
13 years. That is insane.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram the other day. 13 years. It's just insane. Tiger Woods is one of the greatest athletes of all time.
No doubt.
And but what you're seeing from Scotty right now, it's good.
No doubt. So that is going to wrap it up for episode 1 of the Send the House podcast. We will get these out every week. Go follow the TikTok and Instagram. We'll see you later.